Hello everyone, I am Amit. I once again welcome you to this channel. Now this is the second part of my maiden video about India's bad loan crisis. Now you will find difference in this video because the last video was video oriented, but in this video I made a PowerPoint presentation so that you can understand better. Kindly like and subscribe our channel, and most importantly give your feedback so that we can improve better in our coming videos. Now in the last video we learned about types of asset of the bank, but sometimes what happens, these assets turn to be stressed, and what was the reason is, sometimes borrower did not pay either principal or interest for the period of 90 days. If they do not pay for 90 days, these stressed asset turn out to be non-performing asset. Now in this second part we'll try to know what was the reason of becoming NPA. What was the reason? What was actually happening in banking industries, and what was happening in our economy at large, that suddenly the volume of account stressed is more and more, and what was the reason? We'll try to learn about the reasons in this video. Now before telling you about the reason, let me take you to the year 2000 when Bajpayee ji was in power. He was the Prime Minister of India at that particular time. That time he was pushing through massive infrastructural change that India has ever saw. He was pushing railways, telecom, steel, highways, mining and everything. Almost, if you see that particular time, almost all part of economy was performing brilliantly. Everything, including the agriculture, at that time it was performing outstanding. It was a golden phase for India. He also started Golden Quadrilateral project, which brings government investment with the model of public-private partnership. And after that, if you see in 2008, what happens? There is a sudden American subprime crisis, which was also called financial crisis. And at that time, when you see, there was suddenly low consumer demand, and everywhere, all part in the world, if you saw at that time, it was slowing down or it was reducing. The GDP growth was reducing, and suddenly India faced the same problem. Now, the reason continued. The third slide says one of the main reasons of rising NPA is the relaxed lending norms of banking sector. Now, what do we understand about relaxed lending norm? If you see the projects that were taken at that time, if a borrower is capable to do 20 projects, he was fearlessly bidding for 60 projects. So the fault of bankers was they did not assess the risk associated with that particular borrower. He has a capacity to execute just 21 projects. Now he was fearlessly bidding for 60 projects, and that was the main reason. And also there are some political connection between the banker and the politicians. Now we are seeing this in different editorials. Now we will see what is the position of core sectors, how much percentage of India's NPA contributed by these sectors. Now if you see the textiles, aviation, mining and infrastructure, it contributes almost 80% of India's NPA. They account for these sectors account 82. If you go minutely about the datas, it will cross almost 90%. And why public sector bank is facing more challenges is, being a government enterprises, you cannot refuse to participate if government is telling you to do so, because the majority of stake is held by Government of India. Now if a Government of India starts a project somewhere in India, maybe the private player may not go, or they may ignore about the project, but being a Government of India enterprises, the public sector bank must participate in these projects, because the objective of government of India is to deliver, and it has a huge obligation which government promises during the period of elections, and it must execute, otherwise the government of the day will lose its credibility. So the public sector bank, if you see the entire public sector bank, the most amount of MPA is in State Bank of India. Now our next slide says myth about priority sector. There is if you are in a debate, you may find some people blaming the priority sector lending is the culprit. But this is not. If you go to the different standing committees appointed by finance ministry or different committees, you will find that it is the corporate which contributes huge amount of India's NPA, not the priority sector. However, there are some contributions by the priority sector, especially farm and agriculture sector, but it is not as big as India's corporate sector. Now this is the high time for, as our slides say, need for bankruptcy code. This is the high time that we should introduce bankruptcy code, which is introduced Bankruptcy Code 2016, which allows, if any firm is failing, it gives them time to wind up, and if they want to start, they can start once again. So basically its meaning is, we let them fail 100 times, and once again they will start and they will blossom. The exit mechanism should be easy, so that the bank can recover its money and everything goes smoothly. There should not be any problem in winding up, because entering in Indian business is easy, but it is very hard to exit from it. It is very hard to exit. In the next slide, we will learn what are the other factors which contributed to rise in NPA level in India. Now if you see, bank did not conducted adequate contingency planning, especially for mitigating. Now what this mean is, bank did not assess the proper risk attached. Like what I said earlier in this presentation, that a person the person's capacity is to take only 20 projects, but he is bidding for 60 projects. Now he can complete only 20 projects, but he started doing 60 projects, which is very clear that he is not going to do it. He is not, because his capacity is limited. And what is the next factor that contributed is, we started restructuring loans. We think that the GDP will rise, everything will be fine. So we started, there is a term in economics, evergreening. It's like we give money to the defaulters who already defaulted, and we are giving me more money to overtake these projects, which was wrong, which was done by the bankers. Now the corporate, if you see the balance sheet of corporate, it was dwindling. They over leveraged. They thought that India's GDP will rise and it will continue, but in 2008 everything becomes disaster. Now if this all mess was going on in India's financial system, I think the government or the regulators were not sitting idle and just seeing it. They must have doing something to tackle these challenges. Yeah, of course, for some times they sat idle and they did nothing, but now they are active. There is a bankruptcy law, and there are so many things that taken by the regulators and the government of India. Now in the next video, we will learn what are the steps taken by the government of India, Reserve Bank of India, or the regulators which is regulating the India's financial system. Thank you.